Hi there. Welcome to my podcast, How Bigfoot Changed My Life. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Shelley Young, and I'm the owner of Trinity Esoterics, where I have worked as a spiritual teacher, writer, speaker, author, paranormal investigator, and internationally recognized trans-channel medium for the past 20 years. Based on that bio, you might be wondering why I am doing a Bigfoot podcast. I had my own Bigfoot experience that has sent my career spiraling in this whole new direction, and I'm thoroughly enjoying exploring this topic. Since Bigfoot changed my life in the most surprising and unexpected ways, I got curious and I wanted to know about how it has changed other people's lives as well. Since this is a fairly new topic for me, I've been exploring and learning as much as I can about it. I was lucky enough to connect with RPG at the Bigfoot conference in Ocala earlier this year, and he has been so lovely and welcoming and open to receive the information I've been getting about Bigfoot psychically. It made perfect sense to have him be my very first interview on this podcast. So welcome, RPG. I'm so happy you are here. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
ladies, thank
Thank
you
you.
for having me. No, seriously, this is absolutely, I can't, like I was saying before, my degree is in communications and what am I really doing with that outside of yapping at conferences and whatnot? I would love to bridge the gap between our culture and Bigfoot. And
Ah,
just for people that don't know a little bit about me, my name is Ryan Paul Golembeske. I didn't just end up with the coolest RPG that you can. And I have lived a life of high strangeness my entire existence. Grew up in New England, where every house is haunted and don't go in those woods because, there's something that they're going to get you. The old school parenting way of keeping kids safe, right? But that stoked curiosity. Combine that with the fact that I was a military brat growing up, we moved everywhere. So I didn't have a lot of friends to start. So what do you do when you don't have a lot of friends? You explore. And I began exploring the woods and haunted buildings or buildings that were supposedly haunted. And I kind of got a rush off of, or I didn't kind of, I did get a rush from going in and coming out. And at first I could only go in 10 feet before my mind got the most of me and I'd run out. But by the end, I was all the way up in the attic going, okay, maybe Scooby-Doo is right. Maybe it's always people and it's never these other things. So that just led me to this beautiful life where eventually I got into more Bigfooting. I love everything, but anything that fills the world with wonder, right? Or your heart with wonder. But Bigfooting really became the vehicle that I launched on. So the show Finding Bigfoot on TV, which was the premiere, kind of the big Bigfooting show, that was something that I worked on from the very bottom as a PA all the way up to producing the final episode of it, which was spectacular, you know. And what did it really provide me? It provided my office is in the woods. And for me, I just feel better in the woods. I think we all do, right? Like forest bathing is legit, like real. And if that was someday lead me to having experiences that truly make me excited about life, then why not, right? Like finding Bigfoot, finding an angel, finding a unicorn. I mean, it's impossible, but it isn't because they're there. And I can tell you with a heart, just full of truth that there is something very amazing going on. And my dream was always to unite with the right people to form a think tank where we all have the same big hearts, open-minded, but we have different skill sets that allow us to bridge that gap between our cultures. And that time is getting closer because there's too many synchronicities that are happening, including this. And so that's why I'm ecstatic to be here and thank you. There's a lot of people out there that you could do this with, but I'd like to believe that I could be the right one just based on my raw enthusiasm and the fact that I'm open to whatever form of communication it takes to make it happen. So
I love this. And as a sidebar, something that I haven't mentioned to you just yet was Bigfoot is showing himself to a lot of my other psychic friends all of a sudden. I have a friend named Rob Gothier, and he is this spectacular channel. He calls himself the ET Whisperer, so he works a lot with otherworld beings. And he was in Mount Shasta, and he had 3 come through for him, just completely unexpectedly.
yeah,
So there's definitely something going on, this bridge between worlds right now for it to be showing up to so many other people. I have
Yeah.
another girlfriend who was also in Mount Shasta doing a meditation and saw one at the edge of the woods that was not only protecting the woods, but also once it figured out what they were doing, also protected the group of the meditators, which
Ah.
I think was really fascinating. So you're right, there's something in the air
Hmm.
that's happening here. So how and when did this become a career for you? Was it the progression through finding Bigfoot that brought you to kind of being a career Bigfoot guy?
Yeah, a big footer.
Uh,
Well, I'd always been interested in it. I had a unique experience. I feel like there's two things that get you involved in it. Either you saw the Patterson-Gimlin film or Legend of Boggy Creek or something, and then you were hooked, or you have had a legitimate experience, which basically everyone tells you is false and it could have never happened. And I had one as a child. I just saw it standing at this large shadow on the side of the road on a cliff face as we were heading back from Maine to Rhode Island, and I just found it very bizarre. It was just standing there, and I thought it was a bear. I didn't even know what Bigfoot was at that point. It was either a bear or a billboard, but it was like a weird billboard because I was like, I think that's something standing there. And then just as I go to look away, it turns and walks back into the woods. And when that happened, I was all excited, trying to tell my mom, Mom, I just saw it. And of course, quiet, sit down. Those are the days before seatbelts, so you could be running around the car.
yeah, yeah.
Um, not to date myself, but that hooked me. But that wasn't what started it. It was later on. My mom was a librarian, and she brought home this book, and on the cover it was this backlit Bigfoot, so it's just like a big shadow. And I went, "That's it. That is what I saw." And then from there, we would go with my family, my brother mostly. We would do adventures together and going to haunted houses, going to all these one places, exploring the woods. And we eventually, long story short, ended up moving to Los Angeles to get into film. And when we were there, my brother and I said, we should finally put our adventures, like we should film it. This is what everyone's doing now. So let's film it and see if somebody's interested in us. And we did. It's called Monster Brothers or Monster Brothers. And you can find all 4 parts on YouTube, Monster Brother 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that was it. And we shopped it everywhere, and everyone loved it. The only problem, you're not famous. That was at the point in reality TV where you had to have a name to get a show. And
Mm,
I mean, literally, it got us in everywhere, but nothing came of it, unfortunately.
mm,
But we did pickups for Spike TV. And when we did, we're like, okay, we have to find the people in the space that are our people. So we found a gentleman named James Bobo Fay, who, for those of you who are fans of Finding Bigfoot, he became the biggest, no pun intended, star in the Bigfooting world. Heart of Gold, he fell from Olympia. Like, the man is one of the most dynamic, beautiful souls I've ever come across. But we went out and we shot some stuff, and I'll admit it, we partied so hard and still got the job done that he respected us afterwards. He's like, I've never partied that hard and still squatched and still got everything done. You guys are amazing. So we've been best buds since then. And his show obviously became a hit. And that was when professionally I veered off this course and went into Bigfooting professionally, if you call that.
oh,
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, yeah.
I love Bobo because I love when he says respect the squatch, because that's what I'm all about. It's like that respectful, meaningful connection, and you can tell that
100%.
it means so much to him when
Yep.
you watch him. So yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah.
So as a Bigfoot expert, what is your very favorite thing to do?
Uh, well, expert's an interesting word, right? I'm almost more I'm more of like an adventurer, right? Like if you tell me you've got a beautiful angle, I'll go for it. So expert's nice. Thank you. I'll accept it. But for me, like, yeah, what is my favorite part? Well, being in the woods. It's odds are you're not always going to have an interaction, but you will always have a lovely time in nature. And there are so many, just the leaves changing or the way the wind plays across the fields of grass. Like, there's so much more to see and love, and we just live in a time and age where we're like we've dove so far into our technology that we've kind of forgotten that nothing that's going to be in that technology is going to be as beautiful as God created. Whomever you believe God is,
Mhm.
whoever created all this,
Right.
master, like a master. And so to be out in the woods, that is my obviously my favorite part. But the chance that you may win the lottery essentially every time you go in the woods
Yeah.
just makes it that I always do the analogy of like, have you ever been freshwater largemouth bass fishing? And have you ever caught a 10-pounder? Because if you have, then you're hooked for life. You're like, every time you go, you think you're going to get that big one. And it's the
Yeah.
same thing with this. Once you start having experiences that are outside of what our culture, our reality says is real, you begin to it cracks open, or it lifts the veil a little bit, and you begin to realize that there's so much more. And maybe I'm one of the people that's meant to do that, because no one else seems to be interested. They want to talk football and sports. And not that I don't love that too, but there's something about this that makes me stand taller and makes me excited, and anyway, so yeah, that would be the woods. It's always the woods, right?
Well, from a spiritual perspective, there's something so powerful about being in the woods because it brings you into your presence,
Sure.
and it brings you back into your body where you're far more aware of everything around you. And it's that now moment that really is your PowerPoint when you can stay in your presence. So there's so many things going on there beyond just enjoying the fresh air and
Sure,
everything
sure.
else. It's similar to traveling. Traveling will sometimes do that for you too, because you're in a new place and you're looking around. So that makes so much sense. When we're in a trance in front of our computers, we're not in that at all. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And the trance is different in the woods because you do get into a trance there as well. And the longer you submerge yourself
Yeah.
into nature, the farther you step away from I like to call it like the fire. Like we're all been brought up and taught to stay close to the fire. But there
Mhm.
is wonder out there if you just walk away and you do what? Another major goal of mine was I don't want to be afraid. I don't want to be afraid of the things that go bump in the night because
Mhm.
99.9% of those things are your imagination with the volume turned all the way up.
Yeah.
And, like I love a good horror movie. I love them. I love creature features, but I'm also aware now that every time I watch that, it scares the heck out of me and makes it more difficult to submerge yourself or to let yourself go when you get out in nature. So that's why the meditation aspect of it and being able to clear all that out, that's wonderful, but it is noise. And just be present. And then usually when that happens, things happen.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
If you think of every time that you spend time in nature, you're almost creating an energetic meld between you and nature. The connections become far more profound.
Yeah. 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 Practice makes repetition, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you think is the most challenging thing about being a Bigfooter?
Most challenging, I mean, at this point in my life, it's just time, like having the time to go do that. I'm a family man now, and I've realized that for me, that's it. That's heaven on earth. So I'm very focused there. So getting out is what's most difficult. Now, on top of that, it is I believe there are a lot of different paths to enlightenment, and enlightenment in this sense being communication with them.
Mhm.
Um, so it's just having the time to practice these things, like the gifts you've given me, just being able to go to my spot, which I don't know if you want me to describe for everyone, but like it
Yeah.
is so so when I go into my meditation, thanks to Shelley, I come into this place which, imagine a forest. Let's just call them redwoods. They're that tall. They are the most beautiful gigantic trees, and although they don't have faces and everything, I imagine if I was a little more skilled, I could see them. They're all alive, and they're ancient. They've seen it all. And the ground is actually, so all their roots, just like real, on top of it is this dirt, but it's malleable. So whatever I want, if I want to raise and make a hill that rises above the forest and I sit on the top of the hill and look out on this endless expanse, I can. If I want to dip it down and have waterfalls and things, it's just like a playground that I can go to. And when I go to communicate, there is this beautiful bench there that is made out of the roots that come up and form this beautiful, beautiful throne, like in the middle of this vast forest. And I'm able to sit there and with the power of the roots, raise the chair up so that I go, basically imagine my head goes up through the layer, and now I'm in the place where I can communicate, where my psychic abilities are stronger. And I sit there and at this point, I'm just trying to send a broadcast out. I'm hoping for more return, but like I said, I have a lot of noise. I have a lot of noise, and I'm trying to get through that. But that spot, when I can get there and I actually just have a few moments of, I actually, which also distracts me, I feel my whole body like downshift. And I'm
Mm,
like, oh, it's happening. And then whoop, I'm right back up again. And I'm like, oh my God. And then we get back to having the time to practice because I listen, people, it's gonna piss you off, but like being excited can also knock you out of the state. You know, it's not just fear and all these other things. It's being legitimately, woo.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. So anyway, I love that. And that's my special place now. So
Here's a little trick for you.
yeah.
Imagine that they're coming up behind you when you're in that space.
Hmm.
Because if you're busy trying to like connect or see something in front of you, sometimes that triggers us into like getting in our own way. But if you imagine that it's coming up behind you, you
Oh,
stay more in the space of just sensing. Try that.
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I
But
will.
but as far as my communication, I'm laughing because I've been joking with my friends that I feel like my Bigfoot is like studying Babel for Bigfoots, trying to learn English.
Sure, sure.
So, my communication is stilted, yet there's a knowingness that comes with it. So, I'm learning to trust it as it's showing up for me as well, because this is like a whole different area for me, which is really fun. For those
Oh,
that don't know what RPG is talking about, I was, he was nice enough to experiment because I've taught spirit communication for many years. And he agreed when I spoke with him at Ocala to kind of be my Bigfoot contact guinea pig. Um, so we've been exploring connecting with these beings in this different way, and that's what he's referring to, if you're wondering. And you can always reach out to me if you want more information about that.
and,
Um,
and I also think people should just know too, listen, Shelley has a legitimate gift. I'm building the gift, which you've also built the gift up. But for just so people understand, when I just began just to reach out with my mind, show respect. It's just respect. I'm coming to your woods. If you want to see me, great. If you don't, just skedaddle. I won't be there very long. I won't litter. I leave a beautiful footprint. That's work for me. And that's what's so amazing about it. Now with your tools, if I can take that to the next level, then what's the potential just, you know?
I I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
There's so much available here.
Mhm.
Um, what do you think is the most challenging thing? Oh, you said mostly time. How do you handle the non-believers though? Like,
Oh,
I mean, we all handle people that are, even my
sure.
own husband said to me, "Oh, sweetheart, they're not real." Like, it's like, okay, well, you can believe that, but
Yeah, I think there's a lot of space for everyone, and we're all on different paths in this world, and it's not for everyone to enjoy or get into. So,
sure.
one, thankfully, I'm older. The younger me would have called him an idiot, and then verbally gone at him, and we go back, right? But we are all on different kind of timelines in our journey to whatever we're heading towards. Some people will never get this at all, and that's okay.
Mhm.
And for some people, I like to just explain, like, I used to do this the white man way, so to speak, where you just go out, bang trees, and have a camera and believe you're going to get them, right?
Yeah,
It wasn't until I accepted Native American wisdom, which said, be respectful, dude. That's their house. You're walking into their home. And
yes.
when you do, reach out to them, like we were saying, with mind speak, telepathy, prayer, whatever you want to call it that makes you feel comfortable.
Mhm.
And then leave a little offering to show, like, hey, and I always find little rocks that I love, and I'm never letting go of this rock, right? This is my new rock. But I put my energy into that, my love, and I leave that. And in my opinion, I believe they can either feel that, see it, or get it. And that coupled with then you just keep going through your day, and boom, the magic happens. It's honestly, it's respect, and it's what starts the communication. And I think you're onto that. The communication starts in a way we have not been trained to do anymore. It's within us all, like you said, it's within us all. Just
Yep,
nobody's ever practiced. Imagine if I practiced this since I was a kid.
right.
Like, whoa, I'd already be living with them. Nobody would be talking to me because I'd be gone. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. So have you ever seen a Bigfoot? Oh, you did. You see as a child, but I mean, as an adult, have you ever seen a Bigfoot?
We call it a Class A sighting. So
Okay.
just, like the
Mhm.
Patterson Gimlin
Thank
film,
you.
like, whoa, there it is.
Yeah.
Nothing that clear, nothing that concise. I've seen an arm come out in heavily shadow, just as the dying light. So your like eyes are playing tricks on you, shadows are dancing. But I was standing next to someone and we both saw it. Although he's a non-believer. He's a person that thinks it's all a joke and just I'm sure he's forgotten it. But I have seen that, and I've seen things that I thought, but nothing clear as day, right? Like, and we're so visually dependent as a species now, like our other senses have kind of numbed out. That I'm looking forward to that, because then I would be 99, no, then I'd be 100%. Right now I'm 99.9, but just because I like to keep, if I'm going to stay wide open to everything, you also have to stay wide open to that I might be wrong. I don't
Yeah.
think so, but I might be. So no, but I've heard them. They've been all around me. I mean, when I mean all around me, like I cannot speak upon this right now, but I was just part of something so magical and so amazing. And it was witnessed by a large group of us, by 12 of us. It was the last thing you would ever thought would have happened to us, because there's so many of us. We have lights on. We're not doing it the traditional way. And boom, a family ran into a family. And I can if you're telling me that, multimillionaires with military grade gear are out there just messing with us because they like to mess with people, then sure, it's a possibility.
Mhm.
But odds are it isn't, because these things were silent. They moved so quickly. 3 people in the group saw them, and we advanced upon them, and nothing, just ninja. So yeah, I they're real. Something is living out there, and relic hominids, it's without going too crazy in it, but like we've basically been led to believe that it was a resource or a breeding war, and everyone else just died out. Everyone got smallpox, right? It's just not true. If you look at the world as a whole and how much uncharted and wild lands there are, it's effortless for them to live. Now put in the fact that we are like infants in the woods, and in terms of all of our senses, these things pass right through our backyard and we don't even know. And I think a lot of people do see them. It's like a quick, but we're all in cruise control, which is maybe a bigger discussion to have, where humans, not to go too crazy, but basically we learn through life so that we can navigate it more effortlessly and with less fear, less fight, flight, or freeze. And because of that, unfortunately, a lot of these things are dismissed so quickly that they never happened, right? So it's kind of hard to retrain yourself to pay attention to the nuance. And nuance is how nature speaks. It speaks in subtleties. It's not a Hollywood movie with it's so subtle, you literally have to be in the moment and present to see it, feel it, hear it, smell it.
Mhm.
So I've had all those things. I'm right there, girl. I'm like, it's all around. I think they're like, is he ready? And I'll be honest, I'm not. I'm not. I'm getting there though. I'm getting there. And in the day, I'll know when I'm ready. You'll probably know before me, but I'll know. And in that day, yeah, I think I honestly think for that to happen, I will have to truly be able to be present and release that fear, because I always carry that little bit of fear given to me by my generational fear of ghosts and aliens and Bigfoot and the movies that I watch that knock me off my path instead of bringing me more on. So yeah, but I'm working on it. And even if I never get there, what a wonderful project. Like what a wonderful project.
It reminds me, a lot of people say to me, I'm a hypnotherapist as well, and I've
Hmm.
done plenty of past life regressions.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say, well, how do I know it's real?
Mhm.
And the answer is, who cares if you're getting something from the experience? If your brain is so advanced that it cooked up the story for you to have healing, it's
Yeah.
just as valid. The other thing that I think was a huge disservice to people, to our children and to us growing up particularly, is
Mhm.
immediately dismissing things as, oh, that's just your imagination. Because it's your imagination that is the bridge to the psychic part of your mind that can do that connection. So what a lot of people do is they dismiss it before they get anywhere. And that's really a shame. So it's a very important part of us that I personally am hoping to get more people to trust and see, because if you trust your imagination, what will happen eventually is something will happen that surprises you. And when that happens, it's no longer your imagination, because your imagination is your creation. It does not have the ability to surprise you, which
Oh,
is so cool.
yeah.
What happens in your body when you think they're near?
Okay, so I've been really close, and I've only experienced what I call primal fear twice. And primal fear to me is, so you have fight, flight, and freeze all at the same time. And I heard one off of Chicken Coop Road up in the Olympic Peninsula, while working on the show Finding Bigfoot. My buddy and I went up there. We were trying to go to a party that Bobo was at, and there was no cell reception. We couldn't find him. We were an hour and a half away, and we were like, what do we do? Let's go to the top of this hill. And we went up there, and we were in one of the most beautiful locations I've ever been to in my life. It's the place I tell people, it's the place you propose to someone. And long story short, as we were there, I heard one begin to get up in the trees, and I could not see it. It was maybe 20, 30 feet away. I mean, it was close, but it was so verdant, and the trees are swaying and everything, and it's happening. And listen, I've been around bear, I've large cat. The scariest thing to me are humans, and I've seen some pretty angry humans, and I've never felt this. I was shrinking, like shrinking. My cells were getting smaller. And I literally started squatting to the ground. And in my head, I'm gonna go to the bathroom and sprint that direction the second that thing starts stepping. And I was just down, like, and I knew I was gonna blow my knees out. I was gone. I would have been the fastest person on earth. I've never been that like amazed, excited, and terrified all at the same time. And then it began to walk. And if you've seen Jurassic Park, that the first one, when that T-Rex comes out and steps and boom, and it sends this ripple, this vibration across the ground, 100%, that is exactly what it sounded like. It was the loudest, quietest sound I'd ever heard. And boom, boom, and thank God that it started walking away from me. Because I was not prepared. I was not prepared for that meeting. As much as I believed I'm a professional Bigfooter, yeah, all this, no, nothing, all out the door. And it walked away. And then, as I don't know how many steps it took, but then I snapped out of it. Like I like literally snapped out. My buddy runs over. He's like, "Oh my God, they're real. Why didn't you touch slap? They're real." Just like jubilation. And then we went back in, and another one stood up and walked off.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, like, yeah, how do you explain that? And once again, I tell people, here's what we think. That was the most beautiful place either of us had been up to that point in our life. We know that dogs, bears, they can enjoy a great vista and a view. They'll actually sit and take it in. If they can do that, and these relic hominids are closer to us, so to speak, they by all means were in a beautiful spot enjoying a beautiful view together, and we just happened to interrupt it. And because we approached it by mind speaking, albeit very rudimentary tin can phone, uh we did though, and we were respectful. I left a lot of everything, and they gave us a wink. I think it was just all right, buddy, you're in the right direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, profound, like yeah, I can't. Yeah, amazing.
Do you think Bigfoot is multidimensional? Oops.
That's a great question. I think that's out of my pay grade, so to speak, at this moment. I'm open to it. Absolutely. I'm open to it, but I don't know as much about dimensions and stuff like that. Like, I've been to some places, that they call, there are portals or vortexes and stuff like that, but I myself haven't really experienced that. So I don't know. I would start, like, if any, I would start biological. That's because we know of these other species that once existed. Okay. So you start there and stay open-minded to the rest, but check off the list as you go. In my opinion, it's more likely that they are so in tune with their bodies. Like, imagine if from the day we were born, we're trained to maximize this avatar we're in. And what would be possible? Could we change the color of our eyes? I say yes. I've been working on changing mine my whole life. I used to have solid brown. Now they're hazel with green in the right light. I'm going to swear by that. I swear I did that. But you can learn to hold your breath more. Who's to say that you can't basically, like a chameleon, learn to change the color of your hair, or make it move differently, or increase your size, or decrease your size. Or I just think that given the right amount of meditation and time and mentorship, anything is possible physically in this realm. So with that mindset, I don't think they need to be interdimensional. They could be. I just don't even think they need it. I think they are the ultimate apex predator and the ultimate physical specimen on planet Earth. I won't even say planet. We'll just say Earth.
Okay. Patterson Gimlin film,
Yeah.
Killer Hoax.
It's a great question. I did a real deep dive. We geared up to do a documentary film on that. Before I go into real or hoax, those two gentlemen are two of the greatest unknown folk heroes of this country. They were both pugilists, so like best fighters around, the best sharpshooters around, the rodeo superstars, um, who Roger's family was a family of like tumblers. So like literally circus performers, like people that flip off each other's back stuff. They have everything in their repertoire to get it done or to fake it. And so that's why it's interesting, because if you look at the facts, it's kind of like the magic bullet they got Kennedy. They had been out for weeks. So they've been out for an extended period of time where they were running low on energy. They were doing cowboy coffee at that point. They were getting on each other's nerves. They were unknowingly, which looking back on it, they were getting closer to a waking theta state than, which is when things happen when we're more in the present moment. But also there had been a washout, and they're on horses, so they're approaching softly and quietly. They're not talking, they're barely breathing. The washout had put all this debris there, so it was blocking view. They were downwind as opposed to upwind. She was bent down in the river, so she had, or the creek, so that so she couldn't hear him. It was like everything was either perfect to have that moment. They were remote enough. Or no, it was a setup. They went out there to shoot a movie about Bigfoot. If you look in Roger's book and his drawings, 2 years prior, he had drawn a picture. Now, listen, as a man, I can tell you when I drew Bigfoot or muscular, I drew big muscular dudes. You know what I mean? Because you're a boy and you're all boy at that point. He drew a female with breasts. Like, it seems odd that then he ran into a female. And then if you dig more into the kind of a man that he was, we know that he was dying and he needed to leave a legacy to his family. And what would you do? Like you try to put yourself in their shoes. Like, I'll tell you what I do. I do almost anything to make sure my family was taken care of. The most important thing on this earth, individually, for us all. So, but Bob Gimlin, who is still alive and he's one of the most beautiful human beings ever. Like, he's such a gentle, you fall in love with him. Men, women, we all fall in love with him when we meet him. We're like, wow, if only I could be like Bob. He swears that it's true to this day. And where I'm at in my life is, if you tell me it's true and that's your truth and you believe it, I'm going to believe you. Until it's disproven or you say opposite, I'm just going to believe you. I don't have the time to dig and do all that. And, if there's some signs that you're not, like you seem a little sketchy, then fine. But no, he says it's real. So for now, where I stand, I believe it's real. I believe they captured something so amazing that the reason people can't reproduce it or do anything even remotely close is because it's real and not fabricated and put together. So that's where I presently stand, but I'm totally open to it being the greatest hoax ever perpetrated on Bob. Meaning, if I was to do it, right, like thinking as a storyteller, you would want someone there. So Bob's integrity and his honor are like, those are most important to him. So when you listen to him talk, like he was pissed because people started to attack his honor. And he's an old school gentleman, like an old school cowboy. And so you take that from him, he's got nothing left. So in my opinion, if you were to hoax it, you needed someone like that. Someone had no idea what was going on and saw it, even if it was someone in a suit, so that they could carry that lie for you and with honesty and integrity. So yeah, it's a fascinating subject. And the two men, like I said, they're amazing individuals. And I hope there is a conclusion to it. Like on his deathbed, he says 100%, trust me, it was real. Or he says, gotcha.
Yeah. I really enjoyed Russell's talk about it. I found it really compelling. But as you talk about the fact that he had drawn this picture, where I go to is, was that an automatic drawing? As someone who works with energy, was that precognition? Because I agree, if you were creating a character, it would be big and muscular and masculine. The fact that it's a woman really, it strikes me. So was that precognition?
Or was
Or manifestation?
manifestation.
Absolutely.
Yep.
There's so many different variables of what it could
Yeah.
be. So it's so fascinating.
Yeah.
Gabriel, who I work with, my guide that I work with the most, he says humans love a good mystery. And it's very good for us because it gets us looking to expand and thinking more and thinking beyond the box. And that's what our souls are always looking for, is that expansion, which I think is really interesting. So I keep
Yeah.
hitting my thing. I'm really close to my desk. Um, what is your ultimate goal?
To bridge the gap between our cultures, to eventually be on a think tank of like-minded individuals where I'm sitting there in the woods and they come out and we break bread. That's yeah, yeah, that would be truly spectacular. And even if it's not me, even if I can just inspire somebody else to be on that team that does it, then I've done my job. Listen, I got kids and a family. It's heaven on earth every day for me. I can't fail now. Younger me would have been, I better be there, right? Like, and if I'm not there, but no, 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 no. It's whoever is meant to be there will be there. And I would just love it if I was prepared. And so I could be there for that. Yeah.
Well, I hope I can be there. That would be
Yeah,
wonderful.
I think
What do
it
you
is.
think, what do you think Bigfoot's purpose is? I think
Well,
all things have a purpose. What do you think its purpose is?
sure, sure. To survive the mankind and our insanity. No, what I've always thought is that they're guardians of the wilds, and they, instead of diving into their brains, so into technology, into what can we create, how can we change this, they dove the opposite into how can we perfectly be in sync with this. And so they are the guardians of it, but they're also the example set to how you can live in harmony with this world, you know. And so that's just always what I've thought. I've never gotten any confirmation on their guardians or not. But when I play my games or when I use my imagination, especially growing up as a kid and everything, that's what they always were. They were never bad guys. I never made them bad guys. Do I think that you can have a few rogue ones, especially angry, moody teenagers, and that could do some bad stuff? Absolutely. Absolutely. But
Yeah.
for the most part, we're such different tribes now that there's no point in them getting angry at us. We can't help ourselves. Our mentors and our leaders have led us in a direction away from them, you know? So yeah, I think they're guardians, and I think they're reminders of who we could be.
What do you think you would be doing if you weren't a Bigfooter?
If I wasn't a Bigfooter,
Yeah,
oh,
what would you be
that,
doing? What would
uh,
you do?
well, at one point I wanted to be, a professional athlete. I would be a professional athlete, hands down. To me, it's like rock star is like the ultimate thing you could be, and then maybe politicians are pretty cool and they have a lot of influence, which is great. But I'm a physical person. Like I really engage in the world that way. Like a lot of how I want to communicate with them is like bring things in the woods, like tires, and during the day, like just throw them as far as I can to kind of show them like I all mammals we learn through play. So I believe play is where we're going to is one angle to begin communication with them. So that's the athlete in me. I miss that. That was my battlefield. That's where I could be a really nice person, but then I go in there and I'm gonna kick your butt, man. And you better bring the best you got because I'm gonna destroy you mentally, emotionally, everything. But then right when it's over, I love you. And thank you so much. And if you kicked my butt, thank you for teaching me new things. And if you didn't, good luck next time, buddy, because you ain't in my league. And I miss that. Like that's a part of me that I've had to like subdue because you can't do that in regular life. You do that in regular life, people don't like you. They're like, why are you so competitive? Right. But I've channeled that competitiveness into a healthy competitiveness, I guess. But yeah, I'd be a professional athlete, and I would use that to talk because one thing about my talks, which I shouldn't say because it's kind of it's like the B plot or the C plot is also just teach people how to be happy and healthier. And so I'll use Bigfoot as my come in point, but if you were to hear my talks, it's I'd go into breathing exercises and cold plunges and forest bathing and I would have I'd be a double-bladed sword, an athlete, but I'm also not, I couldn't say healer, but I would love it if people found their happiness, and because if we're all happier, the world would just be a better place. So
Yeah, I agree.
yeah.
If you could go back, would you want to know about Bigfoot or would you rather not?
if I could go back, yeah, of course, I'd want to know about him.
All over.
Like, if it wasn't Bigfoot, I would may have been into ghosts or aliens more. Anything that's fringe and needs a spotlight on it, to not all not all of us love the same rhetoric and the same things that our culture puts forward. And so for those of us that need a little bit more, I would head in that direction, and I would help bring attention to it. You know what I mean? Just so those of us that enjoy it have something to enjoy, and we don't feel so alienated and kind of weird about it. There is no right or wrong. That's the real thing. That's within your culture. You decide on the rules of that, but that's just playing a game. There is no right or wrong. You're an apex predator. I'm an apex predator. And that's our starting point. Where we go from there and how enlightened or primal, I'll say, because once again, good and evil, that's another bigger discussion, but it's primal, or it's more enlightened and more using this physicality and intellect and emotion for good, or I shouldn't say for good, to create a better environment for other humans so that we can all thrive.
Hmm.
Best.
If you could sum up how Bigfoot has changed your life,
Yeah.
how can you sum it up?
Oh,
It's so vast, I know, but
I
can you
know.
sum it up?
Yeah, it's changed my life because it's like I've always been the weird guy, like, and I mean that in a wonderful way, like always into you guys are all into this, great, I'm gonna be into this. So
Yeah.
it's given me my weirdness throne to sit on, and I love that. And it also, like, it's kept me in the woods most of my life. And
Mhm.
honestly, I think that's the healthiest place you can go to. The ocean, the woods, it's just nature. Just get out of your house that's painted with chemicals, and you have chemicals in your cabinet, and you have all this processed food, and it just get out of that prison and go into the woods, and that's where it's provided for me. And so yeah, I wouldn't choose anything different, honestly.
If you could give one piece of advice to someone who wanted to get into Bigfoot research, what would it be?
Oh, 100% the Native American wisdom that I was given. Reach out with your mind. Call it prayer, mind speak, telepathy, whatever you want. Reach out, look at a map. I'm going camping this weekend here. Great. And try it. And ladies, you'll have a better chance than men. Kids, you'll have a better chance than men too. And that's simply based on predators, right? You have to minimize risk. And so even though I don't think they attack us, need us, or anything like that anymore, they still operate on that primal level where it's like, okay, he's dangerous, this one's not. Is that a kitty cat tail? But,
No. Oh,
I wonder what that was. I thought it was me. I thought it was a
no,
shadow. Um, but
sweet.
yeah, be respectful. It's just like if you're going into bear territory, you ring bells, you let them know you're there, and then for the most part, they leave you alone.
Yeah.
So set your intention, leave a little gift or something, biodegradable, nothing crazy. I would say organic apples, any organic kind of food they may not get, and then go around your thing and just continue to stay in that moment and watch what happens. I literally that was like, it wasn't even a brand new chapter in my life. It was like a brand new book. I like put down the old book and took this new book, and it just opened the world for me. So if you're really serious about having an experience, which we'll see once you have one, because like I told you, I wanted them, and then I'm like, uh, that is the way in, or that's the best way I found to get in. And it's just respect that you're going into their home, and watch what happens, and repetition. Just keep it up, because your signal will get stronger, and your planning, because you also kind of need to know where to go. It's there, who knows how many of them there are, but it's not like millions like us, most likely. So you got to do a little research, go to where they are either traveling or where they're known to be, and go in with great respect and watch what happens. Your whole world will change. So
Yeah.
it's in a beautiful way, a beautiful way.
I went to Mayaka and left some gifts, and I didn't want to leave food because then I couldn't be sure what took it.
Sure.
So I left a marble, a shiny blue special marble that looked like gasoline on liquid, it was all
Yeah,
different colors, and a comb. Because I thought, maybe they might enjoy having a comb if they've got, lice or, anything.
that's genius, by the way. I've never heard that. That's genius.
And
I'm doing
well, let me tell you how it turned out. They kept the marble and threw the comb on the ground.
it. Well, there you go.
So I don't know. I guess they weren't into grooming. They're like, "Who- I want this,
Yeah,
but this
yeah.
is cool, you know."
Dreadlock Rasta. Oh, but they like the marble though, huh?
They
It was
liked the marble. They did, yeah.
beautiful. It's beautiful.
So, well, thank you so much I could talk to you for days. I could. Thank you so much for joining us. I love your viewpoints. I love the way you approach life. It's just
Mm.
a joy to know you. I'm so happy you are here, and keep doing the good work. Just keep it up because you are doing it, my friend. You are doing it. And I know for a fact it is just on the cusp of blowing wide open for you in these other ways that you're starting to play with,
Yeah.
a bit more intensely. So it's going to be really cool to see where that goes.
Shelley, thank you so much. And one thing I'd add, you asked what info should people have if they're getting into it? Open yourself up to mentorship. In
Mm.
our culture, it's all about, you got to get yours done and they'll get be open to finding good people to help take you to that next level because you're going to hit plateaus. And I've been plateaued for a bit now. So thank you for taking a chance on me. And yeah, your mentorship is going to be, I believe, the key to the next book. I'm going to put this book down and go to the next one. So thank you so much. Thank
Of
you so
course, it's
much.
my
Cottonwood, thank you.
you. All right. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. We are also looking to interview people that have had their own Bigfoot experiences. So if you would like to share about how Bigfoot has changed your life, you can always email me at howbigfootchangedmylife@gmail.com. And that's it for this episode. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.